utter chaos.
Apartment hunting can be stressful at the best of times, but when you're in a city with a out of control housing crisis and also a decent list of wants and needs, it gets a little tricky. If you've been on the channel for a while, you'll know that this channel actually started in my previous apartment. If you're familiar with Toronto, it was in the East End. I lived near the beach. When I moved in there, it was very much below my means. It was a 1-bedroom basement apartment. It was small, there wasn't a lot of natural light, but it was cheap. It did the job, and I lived there longer than I had to keep costs low. For one, I live in an expensive city, one of the most expensive cities in the world, but one of the 2 most expensive cities in Canada. So trying to keep those costs low as I was building my income was really important to me. But at a certain point, I had to stretch my arms out a little bit. I had to grow more, and something else that I was looking for as a photographer is a space, a home that I could also make art in. Because oftentimes I would be renting studios for anything from creative shoots, from portrait shoots to headshots. Anytime I had to shoot anywhere, I had to rent a studio, and I wanted somewhere that I could build a little studio setup, even put a backdrop, put some lights, and have somewhere that I could shoot in if I had to. And that's when I found this place. And eventually I found the one, but it was not easy. Pretty much my list of everything was looking for a 1-bedroom plus den or a 2-bedroom. If you're familiar with the real estate market in Toronto, you'll know there is no classification of what a den is. None at all. If you have an L-shaped living room, the one corner, that's your den. If you have a borderline bedroom with no closet, no windows, that's a den. That's an actual den. If you have kind of a weird cave cubbyhole thing cut out in the wall, that's a den. If you have a space under a staircase of a 2-story loft, true story, that space under the staircase is your den. But I wanted something with an actual den, something that I could film in, that I could edit in, that I could put my drum kit, stuff like that in, something that was my space and I could get away from everything to just have my own area. Then, a big enough living space that I could put a studio backdrop up in. Because ultimately part of the idea of moving is to have a space I could shoot in. So these are like 2 musts pretty much. In-unit laundry would be a big plus, but it wasn't necessary. My previous place had coin laundry that was communal and shared. I made that work. Finding in-unit laundry would be a game changer. A decent sized kitchen. I like to cook. I like having space to cook. If it had an island, something like that, that would be great. If it had a balcony, if it had an outdoor space, that would be a bonus. That would be a nice to have. If it had a gym, that would be something, again, nice to have. Certain amenities, pool, stuff like that, those would be nice to haves. Because I'm not looking to be in a basement anymore. Probably I'm looking to be in a taller building, right? Then this is a weird one, but a nice to have as well is something that's not super high up. I'm fine with heights, but my family to come visit me, my dad doesn't like heights at all, which is fair. So something on a lower floor would be ideal because I would like to have my parents come visit me. Wild concept. I started working with a realtor and we looked at 17 apartments in one day. He was like, hey, this is a lot, but if you're down for it, I'm like, you're a little crazy, but so am I. Let's go for it. Let's just pedal to the metal. We went all across the entire city, east, west, north, south, all of it, right downtown, different neighborhoods. Like, it's like a little tour of Toronto I did in a day, looking at a whole bunch of places, and you borderline don't have time to even look at any of them. I applied to 2 different places. One of them, they didn't like the non-traditional way. I don't have like proper regular employment. Here's an employment letter. Here's your pay stubs and stuff like that. I do a lot of contract work. If I'm employed, it's on a TV show or film production for a few months at a time, and then it changes quickly. So that just doesn't work. So I showed more than I had to be able to prove that I could be somewhere. The other one, I just got beat out on. But first one, they didn't like the way that I make money. To each their own. So none of those worked, and I narrowed my search to a particular area. My realtor that I was working with was like, hey, here's 4 in this area we're gonna do this day. I'm like, great. Get a text from him in the morning. Hey, I've had a family emergency. I can't make it, but there's one. One of these, there's a listing agent who can show it to you. And the guy was late, but he showed up and we had a great rapport. We started cracking jokes immediately, and it really actually went really well. And he said he would put in a good word, and that the landlord is somebody who wants somebody who will look after the space. They don't want to be always hiking up the rent and then having somebody who's just going to leave after a while, and then it's a revolving door. They want somebody who's going to be there for a while and can really appreciate the space the way that they want it to be appreciated. And I said, you know what? I like this. And I like the people. So we went for it and we got it. And it hits everything on the list. The den isn't the biggest. It's what I'm filming in right now.
It all actually fits pretty well. And then you can have a couple filming angles in here that I obviously have to change for a proper drum throne, which will come later. It's at the other place. But for a small little den, that kind of works.
But it works. You know, I moved my desk in, I moved a bookshelf in. I had to figure out how I wanted it situated. I have my drums, I have my desk, I have like a filing cabinet for storage in here. And it's my own little space. It's everything I need. The kitchen is a great size. There's an island, there's a gym, there's a pool. I'm on a lower floor, so my parents actually helping me move in, which was a big help. I got this place on the 1st and moved out of my previous apartment on the 31st, so I had like a month to move in. So I tried to make it so it wasn't so rushed and chaotic and actually had time to go through it all. And that said, I still moved in about a week because I just wanted it to be over with once it started. You know, you get the ball rolling and then you're living between 2 places, and it's a lot. For a lot of it, I just drove back and forth between the 2 places a couple times a day, making trips, boxes, bins, you name it, bringing over whatever I could. And then the bigger stuff I got help with. But I consider myself somebody who's very self-sufficient, sometimes to a fault. But it worked out here and we got it all done. And I'm excited for this new chapter. All the past videos for the last little bit, if you've watched the channel, have been filmed here. And that's pretty cool. It's the next step up. You know, I started filming these videos in the bedroom of my previous apartment. And then I started doing them in the living room, which would be a whole thing because my desk and my office was in the living room. There wasn't a separation there, and I would have to tear down and build up all the equipment and everything every time. And now I have this space that it feels like a step up and like a dedicated space for me to be creative, for me to do work, and I can bring people in here and collaborate. And it's a much better space to entertain in. You can have people over, you can have game nights, you can cook for people. Not a lot of my friends drink, but I do like making drinks. So I'll make a lot of mocktails and you can be there, and the island almost serves as its own bar, which works really well. I'm still figuring out just how I want everything situated in here, but it worked out really well. And if you're hunting for an apartment in Toronto, keep at it. I saw almost 20 apartments in a single day and none of them worked out. So, but in the end, I think I ended up where I was meant to be. And I'm grateful for that and all the help that I had along the way. And I'm excited to see where this goes from here. And if you have not already, to join along this journey with me, consider subscribing, and remember, as always, my friends, to work hard, rest often, and I'll see you on the next one.